Aquaba, welcome to Tikyiile Talks. This is a platform where I, Tikyiile, have conversations with people from different walks of life who share their thoughts and pass their story thus far. I hope you enjoy.
You need a bit of luck, and there's some principles. People say the harder I work, the luckier I get, and I do believe in that. Although I get tired sometimes of working hard, it tires you, mate. It tires you out.
Yeah, definitely.
But at the same time, I'm addicted to it. I love working, but that guy has helped us so much, and we've now become really good friends. And I'm indebted to him in lots of different ways, not just in money. I feel a bit like I choke up actually now. He's grabbed our brand, knowing what it is and how we work, and the way he's portrayed it. People that have never seen our company or heard of us are phoning us up and emailing us because of the window, because the website's a window into our company. And that humbles me, and I've told him, I said, you've changed our business. You've transformed our business. Because when you've got a concept and when you're good at something and you want to tell the world, sometimes this is the lonely bit of being a business person. You feel like you're in a cardboard box and you're shouting,
Yeah.
we're great, Ingmans is great, we can do this, we can do that, blah, blah, blah. But there's only so many people can hear you. There's only so many people can hear you through the cardboard box. But he's put us outside the cardboard box and he's put us on a platform where we can speak to lots of different people.
And it's the same you. You've not changed at all.
Nothing. We've not changed. He's changed us.
Yeah.
He's allowed us to speak to people or show people what we do, showcase what we do. And we've become friends, and Matt and his wife, Rachel, and they're just lovely, lovely people. And he genuinely wants to help me. And, he said to me, he says, look, Andy, I'm all right. His business says, we're all right. Don't worry. And he like, sometimes he won't take any money off me. So he likes whiskey. So I went and bought him a really nice bottle of whiskey.
I'm sure you enjoyed that.
Wow. He's waiting for me to come and help him with it. But he were like, even that, I bought him this whiskey. He goes, what you done that for? I says, because you help me all the time. You won't take any money off me at minute, Matt. You didn't have to do that. Well, I know I didn't have to do that, but you don't have to do what you're doing. Yeah. And all it is a thank you. It's only a thank you,
Because you're both grateful for each other, and because you've both gone out your way to help each other in ways you didn't expect. And it's helped both of you.
Yeah. But it's like I'd give him winning lottery ticket. It were only a bottle of whiskey, but I suppose again it's the principle, isn't it? It's the principle of life, and that to me is, sometimes I get down and I get tired and whatever, but life's a lot more than just money. Being in business, if it's only about money, it must be quite a lonelier place, I think. But I've not got lots of money, so let's hope that if I did get lots of money, that I won't change who we are. I'm sure I won't.
Yeah, I doubt you will.
Yeah.
How do you deal with letting people go?
It used to be very difficult for me, and it used to sometimes, it'd hurt me sometimes if you put a lot of time and effort into it. But what I've realised is that everybody's got their own life and their own goals and their own vision. And I've also realised that people told me a long time ago that I didn't believe in. The more you help people, sometimes it don't make any difference. It doesn't. It doesn't make a difference to some people's loyalty or whatever. I think the key for people going is, if they're going to go, they're going to go, and you do try and keep everybody happy, but it's pretty much impossible.
Yeah.
If they want to stay, they'll stay. And it's like in life, the people around you that hang around for a long time are because they want to. It's not, I don't mean how you treat them, but it's not what you do for them. I like to think treat everybody the same, but sometimes you really try and help people. And I don't see it really now as they let you down. It's their life.
Yeah.
It's their life. You know, it stings a bit sometimes for a while, and then you just have to sort of get over yourself and say, you know, good luck.
Yeah, wish them well.
Yeah, and sometimes people come back. You know, I've had that happen quite recently, actually, where somebody's come back into my life, business-wise, and I stuck an olive branch out, and they took it, you know. And again, that's a lesson in life. You can get so hung up on pride and principle that it don't do you any favours. But if you learn to live and let live, sometimes things come round in a cycle, you know. So.
No. And obviously, because you mentioned earlier that you're the face of the company and it's like your business, even though sure you delegate work, but at the end of the day, the work still comes home with you, I'm guessing, because how easy do you find it to switch off when you leave work?
Sorry, the work comes what? Sorry,
comes home with you. So how easy do you find it to switch off?
It does come home a little bit with you when you work for yourself. It's difficult to switch off. For me personally, I try and learn to handle that it's going to come home with me. And that's part of life.
So how has that changed from the first time that obviously you had your own business? Because before, when you're working a piece or whatever, you can go home, pick up my work, see work tomorrow. But now you have your own business. How's that changed from bringing it back from the start to where you're at now?
I'll tell you exactly right. What I've learnt is that I actually took work home when I worked for Peters. Because I once said to somebody, if you cut me straight through the middle, it'll read Peters on it all the way through, right? And that has set me in good stead for now. I've got my own freedom of thought and to put my ideas into practice, because I've had a schooling. I've had a schooling of the harder I work, the luckier I get. The schooling of that if you can get a clear vision and if you can efficiently work as many hours as you can, you'll get there quicker. And once you get there quicker, and if it works, there'll be a benefit to that. So I do work really hard. People laugh and joke and they say you're never at work or you never do this and whatever. And I'm like, yeah, all right. You can't live with me, sunshine. You can't get anywhere near me. I'm working all the time. Because you can work. You can be working when you're sat on settee. You can be working things out.
Yeah.
And what you're going to do. And if you work them out thoroughly, then when you put them into principle, hopefully they get traction a bit quicker, where you start seeing some progress. So we've recently set a new project up, and I was in that lonely place of, will it work, won't it work? And it seems to be working quicker than I thought it would, which is pleasing and a relief.
Yeah.
When you've laid some money out and you know you want to see if it works and how's it going to work, and nobody's done this before, so are you a fool? You know, well, maybe I'd be a fool if I didn't try it and I had an idea and I didn't try it, but I'd rather be a fool and try it, you know, and it not work.
Never been,
but
been in the known.
You know, it seems to be being received really well. And then when you do scary things, when you do things that make you get up at middle at night, when you feel like you're a fool, they're the things usually that can be a good success. Because if you're scared, it means something.
Yeah.
If you're not scared, it means that it's not really new. It's not really.
You're not stretching yourself enough.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's and I suppose you get used to them kind of feelings. Never get complacent with them, but you get used to the feelings of, oh, I'm a bit scared about this. You know, it's like going in that cold water. Oh, I don't know. One toe in, or are we going in and get it over with? You know, and I think life is a lot about that.
Wow.
Yeah.
How's working for the business and what your business affected your relationships?
Yeah, definitely. I got divorced 10 years ago, and I was working in under a franchise then, so I was working for myself. And yeah, I think in relationships, i.e. we'll talk about partners straight away.
Sure.
So you need the right partner to be somebody as a business person, because they need to allow you the freedom of time, the freedom of thought. You can be in a relationship where you're emotionally held, and I've been in them, whereas, well, I should be coming first, not that shouldn't be coming first. Well, if you're looking after the foundation, you are being put first, because you'll get rewarded for that. And if somebody truly loves you, they will support you. But I've been in relationships where people say that they stand by me and they love me, but they don't really know they don't know what it's like to work for yourself, so they can't relate to it.
That's very interesting. There's a guy who I listen to, and he always has entrepreneurs come onto his show, and he always talks about relationships with them, because he finds for himself that he says that anytime he's been in a relationship, the partner never understands, because even though they're present, the mind is still working, so they're not really there. Yeah. And even though, sure, they booked dinner at this time, but then work is calling, so they have to go there. They don't understand the stress, and they feel like they're not the priority. Whereas the people he's had on who've been in relationships, and most of the time either the partner is having their own business or also understands the responsibility, they're more understanding when they have to cancel something, because it's like, okay, sure, we can't go on this dinner, but I know that you're going to work, and you know that it's going to be beneficial for you and both of us at the end of it all.
Yeah. I think there's a line that you have to understand, we have to understand to draw a line. You know, it is addictive. It is addictive to want to be successful and want to have something that people recognise and that they like, and they want to use it. And fine-tuning that takes a lot of work. But we have to realise as business people that the people that support us need our time too.
Yeah.
But it's like faith. There's seasons. So at the minute we're going through a season where we're having to work a lot harder, because we've had to let some staff go, or people have left, and we're combating being short. So we're trying to be creative. Last week I did a 65-hour week, and you know, I'm 51, and that's not easy for other people around me. So, but at the moment it's needs must. We you know, to stay alive, the ultimate is we stay in business. But what we're finding is we're staying in business, but we're creating new ideas. We're creating new things for the future that will probably make our business easier in the future to do business. So, you need a special person by the side of you. And
what attributes would you say, especially for business people, someone who's a businessman and they're looking for a partner, what attributes would you say the partner should have?
Well, I've been in relationships where I've been on phone after work on business, and I'll look across at my partner, and the body language is, oh, you're on phone again. And and instantly that puts you in a compromising situation, especially if you're emotionally attached to that person. If you love them, it's difficult. And being able to be straight with the person that you're with. So if you're annoyed about something, or if you expect that they should understand, you should be able to have the freedom, the strength in the relationship to point that out and say, "Oh, look, I'm sorry, but this is important." So there you go. But you can't
have to understand that.
You can't. Some people can't handle that. We're all wired up differently. Some human beings can't handle that because they feel like they're not important. Well, actually, it's the flip side. They're very important, and you want to be successful because, for instance, for a man, a main quality for a woman to like a guy is they like successful, confident men. Yeah, you've got to be a good person, and you've got to do the right thing, but they like successful people. Well, to be successful, you don't work 9 to 5. Sorry, just, it's not happening. It might be 4 o'clock in the afternoon to 12 o'clock at night. It might be 5 o'clock in the morning till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But you'll find usually it's not 9 to 5 because running a business don't work that way. So finding somebody that understands that is difficult. Educating them is an education. Can they be educated by their partner? Would they allow themselves to be educated? Yeah. Some women or men, vice versa, if they've grown up and their dad's a business person, they would be more schooled in that
because they've seen it happen.
Because they've seen it happen. So, but somebody could not come from that environment at all and just understand. And this is why it's so intricate. And I was divorced and had 3 children, and I had my children 3 times a week. And finding a partner that would understand the fact that I have my kids 3 times a week and I run my own business is not an easy thing. So I would end up, because I wanted to be in a relationship, I would be seen 6-7 years ago to be, Andy's always got a new girl, he's always got a new partner,
right? Which
would probably not look correct to outwardly, yeah. But it wasn't that I was being a gigolo. It was the fact that I was trying to find somebody who could live my life,
and
how I wanted to live it. I want to see my kids, I want to work for myself, and that's been quite emotionally traumatic for me, because I've had friends who've said, "Andy, look, you've got your kids, you've got your own house, just have a good time." I'm like, I can't do that. Don't work for me. Don't work. It will work for somebody else, but it don't work for me. I like to be in a relationship. I like to be responsible for being in a relationship and loving somebody, and I want to be loved equally. So
understandably,
it's not easy, but who said life were going to be easy?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Wow. And how's your relationship with your children like?
Well, they are growing up now. So my eldest is 19. She's moved in with a boyfriend, so she's got into a relationship with responsibility, which will make her grow up even more.
How did you find her? How did you find her leaving?
It's scary. Look, when you've got a daughter and she gets the first boyfriend, it's almost like you're going through. When they say kids go through hormonal change, well, it's almost like I can only explain it as, hold on a minute, that's my daughter, and you're a bloke, and
you know how blokes mind works.
I'm like, hold on a minute, this is not computing. I don't like this situation. Alarm bells are going off everywhere, so it's very difficult to adjust. To that, but at the same time, you've got to, because it's part of what you've brought them up for, to have their own life, you know. So yeah, that's I've had to get over myself a little bit, but I think I've managed it. My son, he's 15 now, and he started doing a bit of work with us. So he works in shops sometimes when he can. Obviously weekends, and if he's not at school, we've had to get a license for him because of his age.
Right.
At council, but he's a bit hit and miss. But
in what sense?
In the fact that he'll not come when he could. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that he's gonna turn that corner, because he does enjoy it when he comes. And kids, they go through changes, and a year ago he would pretty much just grunt at me when I spoke to him, and now he's completely different again. Because I thought, what have I done wrong? As a dad, what's going off here? But now he's completely different. How he was when he was younger. Because we were always close.
Yeah.
People would see me walking through town, and they say, "Look, Andy's walking through town with his 3 little ducks behind him." Whack, whack, whack.
Oh, ducklings.
When I said 3, because Lizzie has got Charlie, so now we've got 4 kids. Now I'm remarried, and we're hopefully now we're going to be able to adopt him, because the house has been extended and we're married, so that's what we plan to do. But yeah, at the time, they'd say I've got my 3 little ducks behind me walking. But then there's Fallon. She's Fallon's musical creative, and she goes to musical theatre, dancing.
Wow.
She has piano lessons, she has singing lessons, but she's going through change now. She's got to 13, and all of a sudden
things are going off.
Yeah. But we just got to ride the storm.
I'm guessing with your first daughter, obviously, how different has that change been? Because obviously you've seen the 13-year-old girl grow up, and now your Fallon's 13 as well. So
yeah,
has there been a similarity, or are they completely different?
Similarity. What else has been similar is that I know that they give the birth mother more grief than they do me.
Right.
Now, I've always been some people say I'm too soft with them, but they must see a different side to me as well, because they don't usually, as kids do, they don't get a bit chirpy with me usually. At this moment, Fallon's grounded she's got detention at school. They've just moved from being a normal school to an academy, so things are a lot stricter, which I'm really pleased about.
Toughens them up.
Yeah. And
does your job for you, I guess.
Yeah, he's helping. Yeah. Some discipline has been installed. I'm not like big bad wolf all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she's grounded at the minute. I know we're on lockdown, but it's
extra grounded.
Extra grounded. But it's just an age thing. I mean, a year ago, she at the moment, so she's aloof, as they call it. She's not very tactile and whatever, whereas she always has been. It's like, oh, Dad, and big smiles and big hugs. It's a bit like now standoffish, but it's and you do, as I've got 3 of my own, and then we've got Charlie. You do see similarities in them growing up, so I suppose you chill out a bit about it. So I'm a bit more relaxed now about how Fallon is. Yeah. Charlie lives with us 24/7. He's with us all the time because he don't see his dad. So that seems a bit more easy to manage.
And how have you found that, having another child which isn't yours in a family?
Yeah, I think, he's a great kid anyway, but if you love somebody, i.e. your partner, and they've got children, it's the same scenario as I was in, and you have to accept everything and take that responsibility.
You can't pick and choose.
And I'm happy to do that. He's a great kid. I'm not officially his dad, but he does call me dad sometimes, which makes me heart sing, you know. And apparently he says to the teachers, you know, well, my dad's picking me up, and even if he doesn't say it to me, so, which is really sweet. So we're going to make that official as soon as we can. It's just been a difficult year for everybody because of what's been going off out there, or it would probably be done by now, actually. But yeah, no, it's having kids makes you grow up even more.
Yeah, how's having kids changed your life, would you say?
Completely changed my life. I'm sure for 99% of people it does the same as well. It's, you know, it's hard work, there's responsibility, but the rewards are massive.
Well, what do you think's different? Because obviously before it's just you and your partner, but now you've got children of your own, there's more responsibility. How does that
Well, I remember, bearing in mind that Madison's 19, I remember the feeling now. Some things happen in your life and they stick with you. And I remember I picked Fallon up and her mum and came back to the house, and Claire was shattered from, you know, giving birth. And she was feeding her herself. And Madison didn't go to sleep till about 4 o'clock in the morning, right? So Claire were exhausted, and she finally got to sleep, and I finally got Madison to sleep. And I remember getting up about 7 to make a cup of tea, and I remember walking down the stairs and through the middle room towards the kitchen, and this like emotion hit me of fear and joy. Fear of the responsibility, and joy of having somebody it's a miracle having a child. It's an absolute miracle. And I remember that feeling. It just like dumped on me like an adrenaline dump, and it was like, I'm like, wow, it's not about me anymore. I've got to look after this little beautiful thing. Yeah. You know.
Wow.
I look back on photos and got some amazing kids. They're amazing.
Oh, thank God for them.
They paint it backside, but they're amazing.
And how have you dealt with the whole lockdown this year? How's that changed you? What have you learned through the lockdown, actually?
I've learned a lot about myself as a human being. I've learned how to change my business, how to think outside the box, which really has done me a lot of good as a business person, sharpened me up. But yeah, it's lockdown has not mentally really it's affected me through damaging the business, but it's not affected me. I hear a lot of people say that, oh, we can't do this, we can't do that, and they feel a bit down about this, and it's changed the way they live my life. I think I live in a little bit of a bubble anyway, you know, because I get focused on things and I just try and see them through to end. So this has come along and it's like, right, you're going to shut now for 3 months, sunshine. How are you going to handle this? What are you going to do? You know, talking to myself. And, well, there's one thing you're not going to do. You're not going to lie down. You're going to stand up and get through it somehow. Don't know how. Don't know what each day is going to come, but we're going to take it on each day. And I've learned that if I take a day at a time, it allows me to not worry as much and still be productive, because I obviously know that if you're worrying to such a level, you become dysfunctional, and then you can't be practical, and then you're no use to anybody, or your business, or your kids, or yourself, or your wife. So taking problems off in chunks and chewing them up and chucking them out way and getting on with the next one. So I've learnt that. Like I say, it's not affected me. I tell you what's worried me. I tell you what's made me sad, right? I've never once worried about getting coronavirus. I've only ever worried about losing my business and losing my house and everything I've worked for.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what that means, actually. I don't know if that means that I don't put myself first, or I don't know what it means. Let me try and explain it. I've got this new thing, this Ingmans, the brand, the new baby. And that's, when I say it's become the priority, I don't mean it like that, because my life and the people in my life are my priority. It's one of my priorities. But what it made me realise is that was being threatened directly. Like lots of businesses were being threatened directly. And it was my responsibility to make sure that it was protected. So if you think of it as the newest born out of a family, it was the most vulnerable.
Yeah.
So I had to protect the most vulnerable first, and the others in priority. And it made me not worry about getting ill by it, which I don't know if that's stupid or brave or...
I feel like it's not even the fact that you're worried. I guess I think it's like you said, because you felt if you get it, you'll recover. It's probably your mentality, but because you knew the business and you struggled so hard to get in that position, for it to just go like that is probably why you were.
Yeah.
You put your all into it.
There were times when I thought that this could go, and I broke my heart, and it wasn't even happening. It was like I could lose my business.
Yeah, just the fear of it.
Yeah. So I put myself in a position where I spoke to my accountant, what can I get? Well, you can't, this is how much money you'll get. Well, I can't live off that. Okay. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to work every day. I'm going to go to work every day. Short, but I'll work every day. So we had the internet business, money coming in from that. And people were buying off me through social media or ringing me up and saying, have you got this? And I'd deliver it. And I forced myself into a corner to fight my way out. Because I think the only way you really fight to survive is if you're in a corner and you put yourself into a corner where there's only one way out, and that's to get out. And that's what I try. I think that's what I tend to do. I don't know where it comes from, but that's what I tend to do. Put myself into a situation where I ain't got no choice. And then the choice is made.
Yeah.
And then it's, let's fight this then and get on with it. And I don't feel very strong a lot of the time, but a lot of people around me say that I am. And it's really weird because I can identify strong people. I can tell if somebody's strong.
By how?
I don't know, it's intuition or just how they talk. Remember human beings, who they be. Because some people portray, some people are.
All right.
And I think that's where that comes from, is knowing if somebody's not being quite true to the self and they're trying to make you look at something slightly different. Right. But for me, I'm not a fighting person. So to fight, I have to put myself into it has to be the last resort.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Some people go out looking for trouble, don't they?
Yeah.
But I don't like trouble, but I don't like laying down either. So it's a complicated thing.
No, I understand you.
Yeah.
How do you deal with your mental health?
Well, I have suffered with mental health for a long time, actually. When I say that, for probably 15 to 20 years ago, I started struggling with mental health issues as regards being paralysed with fear of anything, and in turn what that did, it made me like that I couldn't open letters and stuff like that because I was scared of
what you'd see.
I had a fear mentality. I called it the trapdoor mentality. If I felt good, that meant something bad were coming.
Right, okay.
Right. And I ended up going to doctors, and I do take antidepressant tablets, which I ain't got no hang-ups about being on tablets because I know that it's a chemical thing that's going on in my brain. And one of the reasons I used to train a lot is because it naturally helped me endorphins and stuff.
Okay.
And it made me more positive. But I do understand people who have mental health issues, but I also feel that they should try and help themselves more and be proactive. Some people might find that a safe place. That might sound horrible to say, but if you really want to not be down and feel in fear, you have to try and fight to get out of it.
Yeah.
And
So how do you help yourself, would you say?
counselling, I've had counselling on how to handle the feelings. I take medication to help with that. I, in a weird kind of way, I enjoy pressure, but I know that there's a tipping point for me. So if I get tired, I go downhill real fast, and I can get grumpy I can get sharp,
Yeah.
right? Lose my temper, and that's when I know that I've gone over the edge. So I can work that hard and just get concentrated and focused on stuff. I'll forget to order my tablets, right? So that I know that I'm running short. I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
And I'll start cutting them in half and easing them out, and think, right, I've got to go and order them tablets today. And then it's gone. Day's gone, because everything else has become more important.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So I'm very bad at looking after myself, really, but I do try and be positive as much as I can. You can wallow in fear and loneliness. It's the easiest thing to do. It's like when you're depressed, getting out of bed in the morning. And this happens to me now sometimes when I'm feeling pressure. I just think, I don't want to get out of bed. I just want to lay in bed. Just leave me alone.
Yeah.
And then I think, well, I can't, because I've got this, and this responsibility. And I've got this, and this to do, because if I don't, I'll be letting somebody down. And that helps me. I don't like letting people down.
There's a greater cause and there's more to you than...
It's more than me. It's not... I know what it's like to feel depressed, so I don't to sound patronising to anybody. But it's not always about you. You've got to look after yourself. But the way you'll come out of it is to think, it's not that bad, we've got to get through this. There's always somebody worse off. So I'll think of the kids in Syria or people in war zones, and I'll try and slap myself round face, metaphorically.
Yeah.
And say, stand up and get on with it.
Keep going.
Yeah, keep going.
No, that's encouraging, because especially for the person you are, you being a businessman, and obviously you have lots of pressures. It's not just you have a family, you have your business, and like you said, you might want to stay in bed, which is fine if you were, I don't know, you're just a worker, but because you know that there's people who rely upon you to get fed, and your family to get fed by payments and things like that, you know that you still need to get yourself out of that place.
Well, for instance, and I'm not, everybody's different within whatever job they do, or
Sure.
and they've got important jobs. But there's certain jobs in the world where you can have a day off, and get paid. I'm not saying people use that, but
it's easy to do that.
If they feel like that, they can think about their mental health, and they can think about themselves and say, you know what, work can come second today, right? And they use that facility, which is great for them, and I mean that. But unfortunately, at this moment in my life, I've not got the facility. So sometimes when people say to me, look after yourself, and I'm like, ow.
Yeah.
All right, you do me, do my job
Yeah.
today, and sit me down. I have to be, to relax, I literally have to be sort of put down, sit, told, sit down, relax. Or the only time I really relax is if I go abroad, when I can't just nip to work.
Yeah. I was just thinking that.
You know what I mean? Because I can nip to work if I'm off. Because I like it. I like work.
Yes, I think it seems like you're saying finding the balance of looking after your family, looking after your work, but also looking after yourself.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if your body's not functioning, you can't get to work. So
Exactly.
but it looks like you obviously you know your tipping points, you know what you need to be doing. So it's not like you're out of the loop of that. So
No, and getting used to getting to know yourself is important. Getting to know your boundaries and your limitations and learning, because counselling taught me that.
right,
You know, there's one thing for sure, Andrew, they've said to me, you'll have problems in your life. And what they said, they'd give you a metaphorical tool bag. You need that tool to sort this out, that tool to sort that out.
mend yourself.
And that's helping yourself. That's allowing yourself to be helped, you know.
So let's say I come back to you in 10, 15 years' time. Where will Andrew Ingman be?
In 10 years' time, I'm hoping that I'm semi-retired. I'm hoping that I can work more from home a little bit. Have a little workshop at home.
Right.
I'm hoping that I've got myself into a position where I know that I've got more people around me that can deliver the standard of the brand Ingmans. I know you've said like I'm face of business, but you know, this human body is only going to be here for so long. So
Yeah.
you know, you've got to think about, if you're creating a brand, you've got to it's a standard, that's the face. So I'm hoping that I will be more involved in making sure, overseeing everything, that it's done properly. At the minute, I'm quite hands-on. It's quite intense because we're building up a reputation. But you know, I can't be here forever, and I can't do every shoe.
Yeah.
So I need to build a team up.
And where will the business be then as well? If you're semi-retired, how will the business look like?
I'm hoping that it's still got the same. We've got a face to the business as regards a shop front, a physical presence, but that it doesn't mean that it can't operate without that.
Mm-hmm.
But what I've realised through this last year is that the way people have responded to the new internet service, that if it's sustained properly, if we keep meeting the standards and service levels, which we are doing, but we need to be able to scale that up, make scalability. You know, I don't really need more shops. And the way that retail's going,
Everything's online.
But yeah, you know,
way,
it's not going that way. People are shopping different, but this has intensified it, this pandemic. People who don't use the internet, some on principle and some because they're technophobes like me, they've been forced to do it and realised actually it's quite easy.
Yeah.
So it's
more convenient as well.
It's so much more convenient. It's amplified the whole scenario, and that's one of the reasons why we've created Cobblers to You. To not, if you can't beat them, join them. It's more that it's allowing the freedom of your mind to not be, well, we've got a shop and this is how we do things.
Yes, that's a very, very good point.
You know, we've always done it like this. Well, times are changing, so
and moving with the times.
Well, let's move. You know, we can still have the same traditional good service as regards job, but move with the times. Move with the service times.
'Cause if you don't, then you'll be left behind and you end up closing.
You only have to stand still to get left behind. You don't have to stop. You only have to stand still. Oh. So that's a mentality of somebody who's growing a business, you've got to move forward, and that's why you always need other people around you that are younger than you, that can see the future a lot more clearly than you can, because they've grown up now, and they're seeing the world in different eyes to what I am. So allowing people to help you along the way is paramount to growth.
Exactly, because you mentioned earlier on with the plaque that your friend gave you, and how, you get further, you can progress as much as you can if you don't mind people take credit. And it's like how you mentioned, humbling yourself and saying, you don't know everything, but the younger generation can help you out, which helps them and helps you in return.
Yeah, and I think a lot to do with that is if you've got a good relationship with somebody you trust or get to trust or know, and they come up with an idea, knowing that they're doing it with an open heart, it's easier to take advice from people like that. Sometimes people give your ideas for their own credit, So I'm just flipping that a bit. So I take advice from everybody. It's just easier to take advice from somebody who's humbled the self. And have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Some people deliver things in a way that they've thought of something better than you before you, and it's your business. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, so that's... But again, ultimately, it doesn't mean that it's bad advice. If you're a business person, whoever's delivered it in whichever way, whoever they are, you'd be foolish not to take it as a consideration. And that's how we have developed the business. Most people, including myself, will copy certain elements, but change them. We'll adapt them to what works for us. My son said something at 14, which was quite groundbreaking. We said about somebody who'd said something that they'd taught us all we knew, i.e. me as a shoe repairer. And my son turned around and said, well, somebody's got to teach somebody, or how are you going to learn? We go to school, Dad.
Basics.
You go to school, you read a book to learn, don't you? It don't just come to you in a vision.
Yeah. If you knew everything, you wouldn't be there, would you?
Sorry?
If you knew everything, you wouldn't be going to school, would you?
No.
It's pointless.
No, you wouldn't go to college, would you? You wouldn't. Every day's a lesson. Every day's a lesson if you allow it. If you stop yourself from learning, if you say you know it all, you won't learn anymore. You've got to be like a sponge and allow yourself to take more in.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
It's obviously you're a shoeman, so there's no point having you if I'm not going to ask you some questions about shoes.
Okay.
So what is the hardest shoe to repair?
Right, so when we repair any shoe, but we are probably more well known for repairing English Goodyear welted shoes, not just English, the Goodyear welted concept, which is now everywhere in the world. So the more expensive the shoe, the finer it is as regards it's more elegant and there's less material to work with. So the tolerances are tighter and there's more stitch density per inch. There's more stitches per inch.
Okay.
So when you get to shoes approaching £500, they seem to it steps up the intensity level of repairing them. So one of the most difficult brands to repair for me is Crockett and Jones and Gaziano and Girling. Both English shoemakers, but they are the intricacies and the finery are really quite amazing. So they are more difficult to repair, and the way that they're repaired is more, the way that they're made is more traditional. So to repair them,
you need the traditional stuff as well.
Well, to repair them traditionally, how they were made, is more intricate so you need more skill sets. For instance, channel grooving or blind stitching, as they call it. So the shoe's stitched, but as you look at it from the sole, it doesn't look like it's stitched. It's because we pair the leather up, and then we stitch it, and then we glue the leather back down, and it doesn't show the stitch, doesn't expose the stitching, and stuff like that is difficult to execute neatly. And then hand welting, which is if you was making a bespoke shoe, usually Goodyear welted shoes are stitched on by a welting machine. But if you're having a bespoke shoe made, i.e. like John Lobb or some Gatsiaro and Girlings are handmade, there's lots of handmade makers out there, Fosters and Sons, and all sorts of different brands. They'd be welted by hand, which is painstakingly slow and hard work if you're doing it properly.
Yeah.
And we do that. We do things traditionally, and it's hard. It's hard to do, but it's very, very rewarding at the end.
I can imagine.
Very rewarding.
What's the shoe or model shoe that comes in and you just smile because you love repairing them?
What shoe? What type of shoe or brand or?
Either. So let's say, I don't know, what kind of shoe that somebody brings in and said, oh yes, I can't wait to get my hands under this.
Yeah, so if it's something that we don't see very often, like I say, the Gatsiaro and Girling, or if you've got an Edward Green or a Fosters and Son, or which we've had. I've even repaired a pair of John Lobbs before, which are their bespoke shoes start from $4,000, so go up to about £13,000 for one pair. Right, so repairing that kind of stuff is like a challenge, but it's exciting.
That's where the years start paying off.
Yeah, it's like, wow, somebody's trusted me with a pair of these, which is a privilege. So, yeah, that kind of stuff's great to repair. But generally, Goodyear welted shoes are the area that we've tried to steer the business into have the reputation for.
What is I'm guessing you might have already answered this. What's the most expensive shoe you've repaired?
John Lobb shoes. They were, I think they were about the entry level on the bespoke, so they were like £4,000. Wow. But the most recent one I did in lockdown, which wasn't that expensive, I think they were about 1,700. These Gatsiaro and Girlings, and they were the guy that sent them me. They were his late father's, and he wanted me to repair them. So, one, it was a difficult repair, and two, because it was his late father's, there was an added responsibility. And the linings had gone, and usually it's just at the very back, but these had gone all the way around to the front where the laces are. So we had to make 3-dimensional patterns, so that when we cut the leather out, it fit. We knew it would fit. So when a shoe's made, it's pretty much flat, and then it's formed on a last. Okay. But once it's formed on a last and made into a shoe, and something wears out, it's more difficult to repair than if you was making it in its entirety. So some shoemakers would say that shoe repairers are more skilled than shoemakers, because shoemakers work with brand new materials and everything's flat, whereas a repairer, it's the other way around. You have to work with what you've got.
Have you repaired any big celebrities' shoes?
I'm trying to think now. We're dealing with. I'm sure he'll not mind because he's done a video for us. We're dealing with Razor Ruddock, which is an ex-Liverpool footballer at the minute. When I used to work for Peters, we made some shoes for. He's a comedian, Frank Skinner.
Okay.
Yeah, made some shoes for him. I'm trying to think now. I know that I've repaired. When somebody's. I tell you, I've repaired some shoes for, and he's a Hollywood actor. Richard Coyle. He's probably my most high-profile customer. He was in Prince of Persia, Sands of Time. He was the adopted son, and he's family live in Chesterfield.
Oh, wow, okay.
So he comes back periodically to visit. And he's a really nice guy as well. He's very down to earth. And I'm not saying we're friends,
Yeah.
but we are friendly. And,
That's good.
But yeah, so that's probably my claim to fame at the minute. Hollywood star.
What pair of shoes would you say every guy needs to have?
If you was talking as a must, everybody I think must have what you call a straight toe-capped Oxford shoe, which is a very formal shoe. So it's what you would typically see people wear at weddings, funerals, business meetings, if they're wearing a tuxedo. But they're an occasion shoe usually. People wear them for business.
Yeah.
But you know,
What smart shoe do you think that you'd wear daily? Do you think everyone should have?
brogue.
A brogue.
Yeah. Brogues are back in fashion now. It used to be probably about 30 years ago they were the old man's shoe. But now I think every man should have a pair of brogues. And ladies wear brogues too. They're quite fashionable for ladies.
There you go. Second to last question. There's a dinner party, 6 people there. You're there, I'm there. You can invite 4 people. Who's coming and why?
Do they have to be alive or
Alive or dead?
alive or dead?
Yeah.
George Michael.
Because
I think he's a great artist. I think he's a fabulous human being. And I think he's a compassionate person, very generous with his money and his time and his talent. Paul Scanlon. He's my favourite.
The guy from
preacher.
podcast, yeah.
Yeah, he's my favourite preacher. I've had the privilege to meet him
Wow.
in this church. Yeah, so that's the first time I've really been starstruck. Yeah, so Paul invited me to church to an event, and he said, "Guess who's preaching?" And I said somebody that I respected a lot,
Yeah.
and he goes, "No, not him." And I went, "You're joking." You didn't say it word, as you said, "You were joking me." He says, "I'm not." He says, "Paul Scanlon's coming to church." I says, "You are joking." He says, anyway, so I came obviously,
Yeah.
and he was up in the special office
Right.
upstairs, and Paul, he invited me up to say hello to Paul
Yeah.
Scanlon, and you'd literally thought I'd met a megastar, my favourite footballer or whatever.
Right.
I'm like, that's Paul Scanlon, right? And I remember they seated me at the front of the church with Paul, literally at the side of him. And when it was time for him to get up,
Yeah.
he put his hand on my shoulder, and it was like God had touched me.
Wow.
I'm like, Paul Scanlon's just touched me on the shoulder.
Never wash your clothes again.
Yeah. So George Michael, Paul Scanlon. Well, so let's have a sportsman in there, shall we? So I would like Jurgen Klopp to
Okay.
come to dinner.
Because you're a big Liverpool fan, aren't you?
Big Liverpool fan, yeah, and I think he's a fabulous person, great man manager, and very intelligent guy. I think his ethos and his theory on his job is very simple, and it's based on honesty and transparency. He's a Christian as well, and I just think it's so obvious that it's a Christian that's made him the success that he is. So definitely Jurgen Klopp.
And your last...
Last person come to dinner. I better bring my wife, haven't I? Lizzie. Yeah. I better bring Lizzie, my wife. Yeah.
Last but definitely not least.
I don't think she'd like to be left out. No. I think Lizzie would like to meet Jurgen Klopp. And she'd also like to meet George Michael too. So yeah, I don't think we ought to leave Lizzie out.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Last question for you. What would you tell your 13-year-old self today?
I would tell myself that I've got to get used to who I am quicker and believe in myself and work for what I want to do work-wise and work for myself as quickly as possible. Yeah, definitely. And be brave, be convicted, and have faith. You can't do this on your own. You can't take all this journey and this responsibility on your own. You need to share it, and you need to give it. You need to give it to other people to help you, not to be afraid of being helped, but just pick wisely who helps you as well.
Wow. I've just thought something real quick. Somebody watching this now wanting to, find a career path, because obviously you found what you wanted and you love what you're doing. What advice would you give to them?
What do you mean if they found something that they...
Yeah, as in they didn't know what to do, they were still confused, but how would you encourage them to know exactly like what they're doing and that's what they should be doing?
Well, I think it's very important, and it ties into what I've just said. I said to do work for yourself as soon as you could.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you know what you want to do. So on the flip side of that, if they need to spend some time to find out what they're passionate about, spend that time to find out what they're passionate about. And once they've found out what they're passionate about, then wholeheartedly focus on it and go for it. Because then it makes work enjoyable. I love repairing shoes. Started when I was 14, I'm 51 now. I can't wait to go to work tomorrow. I can't wait to go and work on some shoes and do a good job and send them off, and to get that text or rapport with that customer to say, wow, that's an amazing job, thank you so much. That's it, job done, reward in itself.
Wow, thank you very much.
No.
So that's been episode 9 of Tikyiile Talks with Andy Ingman. Andy, thank you so much for coming on, really appreciate that.
I really, really enjoyed it. You're very good at interviewing. And I'm very relaxed, so I've really enjoyed it. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
My pleasure, thank you.
Cheers.